please.
I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman. Professor Vladeck, I introduced a bill that would give the FTC the authority to protect consumers from unfair and deceptive practices by nonprofit organizations. And we heard the chairwoman earlier testify that the commission supports repealing the nonprofit exemption. You also testified that you support repealing the nonprofit exemption. And how do you see it, repealing this exemption? How do you see that being a benefit to consumers?
This is an enormously important area because often fraudsters, people who are scamming, fake health insurance, they hide under the shield of being a nonprofit. So one of the first major sweeps I worked on when I got to the FTC involved collaboration with state insurance commissioners, state attorney generals, to go after dozens and dozens and dozens of fake insurers and health providers. And the principal objection we found as a jurisdictional threshold was we don't have any authority because we are organized as a nonprofit. And that's a showstopper. If we don't have jurisdiction, we can't proceed. We can't proceed with our investigations. We certainly can't proceed with litigation. And so the first and important point about this will take away a device scammers and others intent on stealing people's money use to hide from the agency. Second, we've seen a lot of very serious data breaches by entities that are essentially unregulated. Colleges, university, nonprofit healthcare providers. The nonprofit healthcare advisors, healthcare corporations may have some obligations under HIPAA, but they're not regulated elsewhere. And time and again, we see massive data breaches involving very sensitive information, health records, education records, and there is no remedy. We did a peer-to-peer sweep to find out what kinds of information were available from unsecure networks. And many of the most egregious problems were with hospitals, nonprofit hospitals, and with state universities. Yes, we let them know they had vulnerabilities on their system, but we had no leverage to force them to upgrade their systems or to do a better job protecting highly sensitive data. And so this is a very important reform. I urge your colleagues to give this the most careful consideration. It really is essential to enable the FTC to better protect consumers in this space.
On the flip side, I've heard concerns from the not-for-profit community that FTC jurisdiction could lead to increased regulation and increases in the cost of doing business. Do you agree with this statement? How accurate do you believe this statement is? And also, do you believe that the increase in consumer protections would justify these costs if any exist?
Thank you for the question. I'm going to call on my economist friends on the panel to do the cost-benefit analysis. But this was a joke. But there's no question that better regulation will ultimately serve the economy. A level playing field, consumer protection, the cost of data breach and identity theft are an enormous strain on the economy. Partly because institutions can externalize their cost on the consumers who are stuck with the bill. And so I think ex-ante regulation makes a whole lot of sense more than ex-post consumer cost in trying to restore their credit, in trying, if it's a medical facility, medical ID theft is skyrocketing. And there's no easy way to restore your identity. You have to go provider by provider to prove who you are and to get the benefits that you're paying for. And so anything that we can do to place at least some market discipline on these actors, I think, is really critical. And I think this is a very important measure that I urge the committee to seriously consider.